back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Tell a friend, tell a friend. Also, support the channel. Support the channel. Why not? Why not? Here we have another crazy story. Another crazy story. We all know Larry Hoover. He's been locked away since he was a baby. Imagine that. Since he was a baby. Since his brain was underdeveloped. Imagine that. Right now, almost locked up. So it's fair to say that when Larry Hoover went to jail, he had the mind of a baby. Imagine that. Well, not a baby, not a baby, you know what I mean. His mind was underdeveloped. If you were to base it off today's standards, imagine that. But unfortunately, things is not being based off today's standards. It's being based off how things were back then. Back in the 1960s. Back in the 1970s. Who's who's Larry Hoover? I'll let you know in a second.
Across the country. So, anyways, they said at the time the words of the imprisoned gangster disciple leader Larry Hoover dominated the testimony that Monday in the trial of 8 reputed gang leaders and associates. So, sitting quietly in a federal district courtroom, the jurors were fitted with headphones.
So basically, this is who Larry Hoover is. He's a notorious drug lord. No, and he's also a friend to many others. So it's one of those things right there. And he's also a leader. So it's one of those things right there. It really is.
So, for those of you guys who don't know who Larry Hoover is, who are from other countries or outside the city or whatever, he's probably the most famous gang leader in Chicago since Al Capone.
Al Capone. You can't talk about Chicago without talking about Al Capone. You can't talk about Chicago criminal life without talking about Larry Hoover.
There have been other like mafia leaders and gang leaders and things. A gang really, he was the leader of a gang that was called the High Supreme Gangsters. It was not really gangster disciples.
He's probably the most famous gangster of color out of Chicago since recently. Imagine that. So that's what's going on with Larry Hoover right now. But either way, they say he might get out. Over 50 years later, he finally might get out. Is that a good thing? It might be, because I heard that not only did he go to jail with a developed mind, but they said the individuals who he's locked up for unaliving, he wasn't a trigger puller. Imagine that. That's what I heard. Is that the truth? I don't know.
At that time, but it eventually morphed into that. Then he changed it again to growth and development, and street organizations / gangs in the country, and they've pressed some pretty high profile people.
Growth and development, GD, gang members, future jailbirds, future separated from their families, from their friends. Those individuals right there.
So a lot of people, have to deal with them at one point or another because they do have a lot of soldiers, I'll say, in the streets today, even into this day in all states across the country.
One point in time, they said Larry Hoover, he had an organization over 30,000 strong. Imagine that, 30,000 individuals. They said they had to get him off the streets. He was becoming too powerful at such a young age with an underdeveloped mind. Unbelievable.
So, anyways, they said at the time the words of the imprisoned gangsters.
Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. It's free of cost. Imagine that.
Larry Hoover dominated the testimony that Monday in the trial of 8 reputed gang leaders and associates. So, sitting quietly in a federal district courtroom, the jurors were fitted with headphones and listened to hours of taped jail conversations among Hoover and his underlings. So the tapes described in Hoover's words how he demanded election taxes, a set amount of money that dealers.
So Larry Hoover, even though he took, he wanted to cut of everything like Frank Lucas. You know, if you make $5, I need $2.50 out of that $5. At least I need $1. I need something, brother. Break bread. Imagine that. Larry Hoover wanted to cut of everything. He became so greedy.
Made from the sale of drugs on disciple-controlled territory. So this was one of the things that was really causing a lot of friction in the GDs and in gangs in general at that time, was the collection of this street tax. And the renegade option, okay, the insane option is what they say. And by insane, I don't mean mentally insane. I'm talking about Chicago street slang.
A lot of these individuals who's locked up in the Cook County jail, they have underdeveloped brains because they're under the age of 26 years old. Is that the truth? I don't know. Larry, like Larry Hoover, imagine going to jail, being one of the youngest individuals, and then as time goes by, you become one of the oldest individuals. It's crazy.
In other words, breaking doing their own thing. That seemed like the better option as for in person with paying street tax. And Hoover was trying to get this out of these guys, but the conversations were taped by authorities who planted a transmitter on the visitor's badge that they gave to unsuspecting gang leaders who made the 6-hour trip to the Vienna Correctional Center in southern Illinois to meet with Hoover. So these guys would show up to go meet with Larry Hoover. They would take these visitors' badges and, unbeknownst to them, had planted a bug on the badge.
Imagine that. They need to know what Larry Hoover is saying at all times, what he's doing at all times. Has anything changed? If Larry Hoover was to get released today, will the feds be watching him, everything that he does? Most likely. Imagine that. Don't forget, he's a powerful man.
These are Hoover's words. He said, quote, I'm gonna lay it down all over the city. And whoever's selling weed, they're gonna give me 1 day of sale profits per week on weed. Whoever's selling pills, 1 day a week on drugs. Okay, now this was a transcript between Hoover.
Imagine that. 1 day belongs to me. 1 day belongs to me. Imagine that. They said that's how Larry Hoover was getting down. Calling the shots from behind the bars with an underdeveloped brain.
You know, one of his guys who was an alleged narcotics supplier, and
I guess he could have been greedier. He could have said 2 days. 2 days, it's all mine.
I'm talking about all over the whole town, not just in one area. Hoover estimated that the tax would bring in an extra $200,000 to $300,000 a week. So that the tapes, they said, were a major factor in the prosecution's contention from state prisons.
So Larry Hoover, he was just kicking back, relaxing in his jail cell, thinking about putting the numbers together. We do this, we do that, we get extra money here. That's why the feds said they had to come get him, put him that ADX. Let him know what comes along with doing crimes while you're locked up. Unbelievable.
Incarceration.
If Larry Hoover had just stopped doing crimes when he was first locked up, he'd be home right now.
On a murder conviction.
That's what I heard.
Why he was talking this stuff, I don't know. Larry Hoover's a pretty smart guy. Even people that, are against him or whatever, or, disagree with him or don't like the stuff that the GDs have done in the streets, even people that are GDK, admit that Larry.
Now the GDs, the BDs, they all hate each other. Now imagine that. They are enemies. They're supposed to be brothers, brotherly love, but no. They hate each other more than they hate getting a job. Imagine that. Imagine hating somebody more than you hate getting a job. It's unbelievable.
Hoover is one sharp dude. He is not slow by any means. So this seems like a big mistake, though. This was a big mistake, for him to be talking this stuff with these guys. Not necessarily that he